Okay, so let me share my screen now. Okay, I believe you can see my screen. So remember we got an IP address yesterday for Microsoft. We got an IP address for Microsoft yesterday, and that IP address for Microsoft, we, sorry, um, okay, this is it. Okay, no, yeah, we have the this. Okay, no, this is certifiedhacker.com. So it's the one I tried. I did an MAP. So you can do this is the of MAP, online version of MAP, but the more robust one, you can download it from MAP. Look, this is let me just show you so that let me see MAP, okay. Download, let me see. So you can see whether if you are using Windows or Mac OS. So you can see to get the latest nmap. So for Windows, this is the uh, setup for it. 7.9 for you. Download this one, then you install. So if you're having any issues, uh you can check out the okay, this is the Windows section. So if you have any issues here, uh you can consult this particular page. So just download and install. So though it's better, like I said yesterday, I think I will have to drop. Let me check for that link. I will have to drop that link. Where are you? Let me drop it in the chat box. I don't know if I've done that before. You need to install. You can you though I must warn you that this thing may take you. It may cost you about 5 or 6 gig. So make sure you have enough data before you start doing this. But this is a guide on how you can install a Parrot operating system on your machine. So, but me, I will advise that your computer or your laptop has to be like it's preferable if you have 8 gig RAM. But if you have 6 gig RAM too, you can still manage it. So 6 gig RAM and maybe 200 gig hard disk or 250 depending. So you you can use it. So download, let me just drop this. I think I've copied it. Let me drop into the chat box. All right, so I scanned this certifiedhacker.com, and part of what we are talking about when you are scanning is that you want to know the ports. I already explained yesterday about the ports, the issue of ports that are open and the ones that are closed and the ones that are filtered. So you can see here, we looked at the list of ports yesterday. So we have port 21. Of course, it showed us that the host is up, that the host is up. And then, but let's compare this. Let me see. Do I have shutdown? Okay, let me use. Let me see if I have senses. Okay, or I can even use this one. But no, let me use senses. Trying to see if I have senses dot io open anywhere. Okay, let's try showdown. Sorry. Okay. So we can also see some other showdown.io is also a very powerful tool. Very powerful tool. Can give us, in fact, is look at this. You remember we said yesterday that you do three types of scanning: port, vulnerabilities, and network scanning. Those are the three types of scanning you do: port, vulnerability, and network scanning. So look at the information it has given us. Though this one gave us a little. So basically, Nmap allows you to see the ports that are up and the ports that are open and closed, and the services that are running on them. You can see this one, TCP 21, TCP 22, they are open. Both FTP and SSH are open. AT, of course, which is for World Wide Web, is open. 110.3, 143, IMAP, then 443, HTTPS. Then MSWPT server is closed, 3389. So um, so that's what it basically shows you, to know the ports that are open, the ports that are closed. So look at what is almost the same results here. Though this one didn't show us that 20, or anyway, 23 is closed, so it didn't show it. 26, this one didn't show us 26. It didn't show, but let me see. But it showed 4431011. So you can see that the results correlate with one another. But apart from that, this one has given us the vulnerabilities that are available. So the vulnerabilities that are available on the, we'll still get into, dig deep into that. The vulnerabilities that are accessible, or that are possible, or available, or that can be seen on the that particular device or that server. Let me use senses. So I do hope you are taking note of these websites and all these tools, so that you can use it during your during the week when we don't have lectures. I expect you to review all these things. I expect you to review all these things, look at every one of them one by one. So because we have limited time, we just have 4 hours in a week to be able to do these things. So there's only so much we can do. So I expect you to download Mmap and look at all those different scans that we can use Mmap to carry out. So okay, let's try to see what this tool will give us. Okay, you can see. So this one even gives us more information. It gives, that's one thing I like about these senses. It tells us the operating system. Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 tells us the operating system that is running. and the different ports that are open, just like we saw before, 21, 22, 25, 26. Okay, 53 is open, 80, 110, 143. Um, so still the same thing. It's in Provo, Utah. So it correlates. It correlates with all that we have seen. So all this is just about gathering enough information about the whole scanning. We talked about all this yesterday. So you need to download um, this scanner, mmap, and also test it. So different types of scanning that's available on it. So but basically these screenshots, they are not if you use like this thing, so there may be a lab that was set up, so you may not be able to get what you this kind of results, because this IP address may not get you across to any what's it called, any device or any host. So all you just need to do is just to look at, you can take an example, look at the IP address that we use and use it. So that's a live system, it's a web server. So then we have other types of scan, SSDP, and list scan. Simple service discovery protocol. It's a network protocol that works in conjunction with universal plug and play to detect plug and play devices. Vulnerabilities in universal plug and play may allow attackers to launch buffer overflow or denial of service attacks. So attacker may use the UPnP, simple service discovery, and search information discovery to check if the machine is vulnerable to UPnP exploits or not. So then please scan. This type of scan simply generates and prints a list of IPs names without actually pinging them. So a reverse DNS solution is performed to identify the host names. So simple service discovery protocol. We have Metasploit console. So once you download the Parrot, um, so you can check out. I think I'll still drop it in our WhatsApp group. That particular link, I'll drop it in the WhatsApp group so that we can all explore it. Download the VMware, then download the Parrot. So it has all these tools we'll be talking about. So for lack of time, we may not be able to really push much, but I think I'll be giving us as assignments to go and look into all those things. So, but I just need to explain the background information about these things so that you will not be misled and you have more information about it. So, list scan, the discovery active network host is indirect. A list scan simply generates and prints a list of IPs names without actually pinging or scanning the host. So that's when probably uh, you are scanning a particular network. It just shows the active IP addresses. So advantages of a list scan is that I can perform a good sanity check. The list scan detects incorrectly defined IP address in the command line in an option file. It primarily repairs the detected error stored in any active scan. So we have two types of IP addresses. We have IP version 4 and IP version 6. So IP version 6 increases the address size from 32 bits to 128 bits to support more levels of address hierarchy. Attackers need to harvest IP version 6 addresses from network traffic, recorded logs, or received from header lines in archived emails. So attackers use the iPhone 6 option in ZenMap to perform IP version 6 scanning. So use iPhone 6. iPhone 6. So IP version 4 is 32 bits, while IP version 6 is 128 bits. IP 28 bits supports higher level of addressing hierarchy. So traditional network scanning techniques are computationally less feasible because of the large space. So the number of scanning tools do not support ping sweeps on IP version 6 networks. Attackers need to harvest IP version 6 addresses from network traffic, recorded logs, or received from another data lines in archive email, or use net news messages to identify IP version 6 addresses for subsequent port scanning. However, scanning an IP version 6 network provides a large number of hosts in a subnet. This IP version 6 scan. So you can see the option here, nmap, then iPhone 6 scanning.nmap.org gives you that. Then service version discovery. So on each port, each port has its own service that it runs. Like I said, like 21 now is file transfer protocol, which is used for transferring files. It's used for transferring files. So we call it file transfer protocols. We have port 25, which is simple mail transfer protocol, which is usually used for email exchange, mail services within a network. Um, then 110 post office protocol, POP3. POP3. So so now each port now has services that is running, like I said. So those are service version detection helps attackers to obtain information about running services and their versions on the target system. So obtaining an accurate service version number allows the attacker to determine the vulnerability of the target system to particular exploits. So in ZenMap, the iPhone SV option is used to detect service version. So SV. So you can see, let me see if you have a bigger screenshot. Yeah, okay. So from this, you can see that it shows us the service, then also the version. Yeah, it shows us the version, but the search we did here didn't really yield anything. You can see it showed us the service, but not the version. It showed us the service, but so for me to even explain to you better what I was saying about the IP address that was used in that screenshot, so that you understand what I'm saying. So it was just a demonstration IP address 10.10.10.1.11. Okay, let's see if it will do. So like I said, it's not an existing this thing. It was just used for demonstration. But let me check. Let's try and search for other ones. Okay, I think I did. Was it here? I did. So I neck somewhere. Okay. Oh, why did he give me the IP address? Okay, I think we did something here. Uh-huh. Let me see. So when we were talking about subdomains from top level domains. So you can see all the different subdomains that are under uh, Microsoft. So let's check one of them. Okay. Still the same thing, but it didn't give us the version. It didn't give us the version. But you can see here that only port 80 and port 443 are opened. All the others have been filtered. There's a firewall. When you see filter, that means it's blocked at the firewall. So there is blocked, FTP is blocked, SSH is blocked. So for you to know, for this particular device now, only two ports are open, 80 and 443, which are usually the ones that are open. So this is the online version, but the downloaded stuff allows us to be able to um do more tests, do more robust tests. But I can't install it now because of some challenges I'm having. So, but if you can always, like I showed you the this, you can use it and test it during the week with different IP addresses, different IP addresses. Uh, you can go through. I think this is this particular stuff. It was recorded. It was recorded. Yeah, it was recorded. So even if it's not recorded, wait, oh, I'm in the wrong place. I'm trying to check where I picked this. Okay, this is it here. This is what I was looking for. So you can go under this and check the different subdomains and start scanning all the different IP addresses and start comparing the result to see if there are other ports that will open. Okay, let's even do that. Which the one we copied now. Let's look for another one. Let me not do. Let me try. But I think they will all be the same because Microsoft, the law of security will be put in place. Let's try and see if we could get lucky. It's still the same thing. Filtered only 80 and 443. So, and the reason why they left 80 and 443 is because those are the port we use in accessing World Wide Web. So, and those do not if you block it, then somebody cannot access that website over the internet. So that's why they left those ports open. But as it is now, so all other ports that could have been useful for attackers have been blocked. They have been blocked. Okay, let's go back to our. So you can see for this one at the version, they showed, okay, there's HTTP, but this is the version Microsoft IIS. IIS. So, and that shows that it's running Microsoft International, Internet Information Service, which is the operating system for web servers. So you can see the different version, but it's not showing version for everything, but at least showing version for this. So based on the version, the attacker can now, when we get to the aspect of vulnerabilities and exploits, you will be able to understand more because the vulnerabilities differ. If you are attacking a Linux system, the vulnerability that you use, you recall that there are some scans that we mentioned yesterday that these scans don't work against Windows system. You understand? So if you are targeting Windows, it won't work. But now we have some vulnerabilities. Now some vulnerabilities are um, target if you want to attack a Linux system. So that Linux now, even within Linux, you have different versions. Okay, just like Windows now. Windows has Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 9, Windows 10. Each of those Windows have their different weaknesses that can be exploited and they differ one from another. Now, you now have the server versions of those operating systems like Microsoft IIS. So depending on the version, is it 10, is it 11, and all that, now has its own vulnerabilities or weaknesses too. You understand? So it's very, very important that one uh, really understand. It's very important that one really understand the different uh, uh, version. So now these services that are running, the service discovery allows the attacker to know the service version allows the attacker to know the particular exploit he will use, because not all exploits will work with everything. So depending on the version, that is what it will now that will determine what he will do. You understand? So that's very key. So if you are using mmap, how do you reduce time spent in scanning? So performance and accuracy will be achieved by reducing the scan timing. How do you reduce scan time? Omit non-critical tests, optimize timing parameters, separate and optimize UDP scans, upgrade mmap, make sure your mmap is the latest version, execute concurrent mmap instances. You can in several open several windows or instances of it, then scan from a favorable network location. So there are some scans, like one of the challenges we are having also. Already there are some things that are blocked even from our own side here in this part of the world, especially Nigeria. So that could be also be an issue. Scan from a favorable network location, then increase available bandwidth and CPU time. So for operating system discovery, you want to know what is the operating system that is running. I already showed you one of the ways we can determine the operating system that is running. By you can use this census.io. You can use census.io, but let's look at these methods. We have active banner grabbing and passive banner grabbing to know the operating system that is running. Banner grabbing or operating system fingerprint is the method used to determine the operating system running on the remote target system. There are two types of banner grabbing. You have active and passive. So identifying the operating system used on the target host allows an attacker to figure out the vulnerabilities possessed by the system and the exploits that might work on the system to further carry out additional attacks. So active banner grabbing. This is using specially crafted packets sent to the remote operating system, and you now note the responses. Then the responses are then compared with a database to determine the operating system. The responses from different operating systems vary due to differences in TCP or IP stack implementation. Then passive, you can look at error messages. You have some you I don't know if you have noticed, you are trying to access a particular website, it gives you an error, and after giving you the error, it now shows you that what's it called, uh, server Microsoft version, or it can show you an Apache so with that, it allows you to be able to grab that information. Then you can also do another thing. You can save the network traffic, capture and analyze packets. The target enables the attacker to determine the operating system used by the remote system. So if the packets are being sent, that's data or information is being sent from the target system. So if you capture it and analyze it, it will show you, it will give you an understanding of the operating system. Then banner grabbing from page extensions. We have different pages. So you have a page that says, I don't know if I can see that, but if you look at the URL, you all know what a URL is. That's like the address of the website. Sometimes it ends with .php, .aspx. So once you see that it ends with .aspx, that page, you know that is Internet Information Service Server, that's IS, and Windows platform. So you can either do banner grabbing from error messages, from sniffing the network, and from page extensions. So that's passive banner grabbing. So passive banner grabbing, you are not sending any packets. But in active banner grabbing, you are sending packets. So for instance, this for active banner grabbing. The scanning utility Nmap uses a series of 9 tests to determine an operating system fingerprint or banner grabbing. The test listed below provides some insights into an active banner grabbing attack as described at www.packetwatch.net. So test 1, TCP packet with SYN, that's synchronized, and ECN triple flags enabled, is sent to an open TCP port. Another test, TCP packet with no flag enabled, is sent to an open TCP port. Is a null packet because there's no flag set. TCP packet with URG, PSH, SYN, and full flags enabled is sent to an open TCP port. Test 4, TCP packet with ACK flag enabled is sent to an open TCP port. TCP packet with SYN flag enabled is sent to a closed TCP port. TCP packet with ACK flag enabled is sent to a closed TCP port. TCP packet with URG, PSH, and FIN flag enabled is sent to a closed TCP port. Then test 8, port unreachable UDP packet is sent to a closed UDP port. The object is to extract ICMP port unreachable message. Then the last one, TSEC, TCP sequence ability. Then this tries to determine the sequence generation pattern, the TCP initial sequence number, also known as TCP. So because every packet has a sequence number, just like I don't know how to put it, how to explain it. It has a number, every like an identity number. So so the objective is to find patterns in the initial sequence of number that the TCP implementation chose while responding to a connection request. They can be categorized into groups such as traditional, random increments, that's for newer versions of Solaris, Iris, FreeBSD, Digital, Unis, Crea, and many others, or true random, Linux 2.0, OpenVMS, newer AIS. Windows buses use a time-dependent model in which the ISN is incremented by a fixed amount for each occurrence. So we're talking about, okay, for passive banner grabbing, is not fully accurate nor limited to this force. It can improve its accuracy by looking at several signatures and combining the information. Let me see, there's something here. Okay, so let's look at, for instance, for passive banner grabbing, if you want to identify the target system, attackers can identify it by the operating system running on target machine by looking at the TTL and TCP window size in the IP header of the first packet in a TCP session. Sniff or capture the response generated from the target machine using packet sniffing tools like Wireshark. Observe the time to live and TCP window size. So now, time to live is different from each uh, operating system. So time to live is basically the time when you send a packet, how long will that packet be in existence, so to speak, in quotes, before it is destroyed, I think, destroyed or doesn't exist anymore. So that's, we have 64. Then the CCP window size. So it varies. You can see for Linux, TTL 64, Windows size 5840, FreeBSD 64, Windows size 65535, OpenBSD 255, then TCP Windows size 16384, where Windows TTL 128, Cisco routers 255, 412, Solaris 255, 8760, AIS, and so on and so forth. So let's look at this now. So if you sniff the packet and you check it, look at, this is the packet, and it was expanded It was expanded here. So you can see that the time to live that is on this packet is 128. 128. So that's, if you look at this table, 128 refers to Windows. 128 refers to Windows. So then if you look at this one, the time to live is 64. This is another system. Time to live is 64. It was expanded there. You click on this and it gives you more. You can see time to live is 64, which is, if you check this table, it is Linux. So it's possibly, it's not 100% certain, but it's most likely. So that's one way for you to determine the possible operating system. So you can also use Nmap. Nmap can give you results depending, because I think Nmap, what's it called, is being blocked now because you can't get, but definitely Census. Census gives one, you can see this one I did now for Aka, certifiedaka.com. It showed us the operating system. Where is that again? Okay. Red Hat Linux. It's even the 7th. So to show us the version, it shows us it would tell you. So that's, I like that too. I like it. Oh, sorry, you can't see the table. I'm surprised. Uh, okay, I will let me share my screen again. Let me share it again. Uh, this is the table. This is the table, yeah. It's the table, yeah. So you can use Nmap. There also Unicorn Scan. It's this Unicorn Scan still uses uh, this. Let me go to a bigger screenshot. So using the O can determine the operating system of a remote device. And okay, so you can see the TTL. So Unicorn Scan, you use the TTL, and you see that it's 120. If it were 64, we'll say it's Linux, according to that table. If it were 64, we'll say it is Linux, but it is 128. So you can also use Mmap script engine to find that. So Mmap script engine is in Parrot. So you can also do operating system discovery using IP version 6 fingerprinting. It can be used to identify the operating system running on the target machine. It has the same functionality as IP version 4. The difference between IP version 6 and IP version 4 fingerprinting is that IP version 6 uses several additional advanced probes specific to IP version 6, along with a separate operating system detection engine that is specialized for IP version 6. So in ZenMap, yeah, 6 option and no option are used. Remember, when you want to do IP version 6 and you have to use 6, iPhone 6, then O is for uh, to search for operating system. Now, how do we have what we call intrusion detection systems, and intrusion detection system, and intrusion prevention system, then firewalls. So these intrusion detection systems are there in order to detect if somebody is trying to intrude into a particular network. So, and what do they mean by intrusion? If you are sending probes, all these probes we are sending into the network, there are things that will be flagged by the intrusion detection system and possibly blocked. So we also have the firewall. The firewall controls the ingress and egress traffic, that is incoming and outgoing traffic. So it's just like a fenced place with a gate, and it will tell you the rules have been set on it, and those rules determine uh, the type of traffic that will be allowed in and out of that particular network. So it determines the traffic that will be allowed in and out. Okay, so how do you now make sure that this intrusion detection system doesn't disturb the scanning you want to do, and does and the firewall also? You do that by packet fragmentation. Packet fragmentation is breaking that packet into bits and pieces such that the intrusion detection system will not be able to recognize it because it's not together. It's not a whole packet. It has been fragmented, broken into different pieces. So that will make it to not to be uh, for the IDS not to be able to identify it. You will not be able to identify it. So we have packet fragmentation, we have source routing. So source routing, this is a situation whereby uh, the attacker determines the path that the uh, packet that is sending will pass. It determines the path. So if remember there's a place where we saw that the attacker can draw the network topology, know where there are firewalls or the routers and all that within a network. Remember we talked about trace route yesterday. So that allows the attacker to be able to know, okay, this is router, this and that. So it allows him to get the network topology. You can also do that using mmap also. You can see that when you look at it. So if he now discovers that on the path that he wants to send the packet through, the routers will block it. He cannot decide that the packet will take another route, which has nothing to do with what's it called? It has nothing to do, or will not be. I mean, no firewall will be able to stand in the way. It is just like somebody knowing how to dodge things. So it can determine, okay, to take this route and this route will be free. So that's what we call source route. So it determines from the source the path that the packet will take. So then we have source port manipulation. This source port manipulation, uh, you determine the source port because, for instance, you saw the scans we did earlier on. There were places where uh, uh, only port 80 and port 443 were open. All other ports were closed. So in that kind of situation, the attacker may want to get across to a filtered port, but he may not want to. Of course, he can't go through. Maybe, for instance, he's targeting port 21. He's targeting port 21. So instead of now, since he knows that port 21 is filtered, he can pass through port 80. He can pass through port 80, saying the traffic is coming from port 80, and now eventually gets to the target where he wants to get to. Then IP address decoy, he can change his IP address. There may be his IP address may have been blacklisted. He can change it, or a source IP address, he can change it. Then IP address spoofing, he can also change it. Another impersonating another IP address. The MAC address spoofing, he can impersonate another MAC address. Then he can create custom packets that will not be easy for the intrusion detection system and the firewall to identify. Then randomize host order and sending bad checksums. So bad checksum is part of the TCP header information. So if it sends bad checksum, it's the firewall or the IDS will not be able to identify. Then you can use proxy servers. So proxy servers are servers that act as intermediaries. So it will be as if the information or the data or packet is coming from those servers instead of it. They can use anonymizers, which hide his identity. So those are different ways. So packet fragmentation, splitting of a pro packet into several smaller packets while sending it to a network. So it is not a new scanning method, but a modification of very previous techniques. The TCP header is split into several packets so that these packet filters are not able to detect what packets are intended to do. So you fragment it. So you can also do that using ZMAP. ZMAP. So since within small IP fragments plus port number, then reset if the port is closed. If the port is closed, you reset it to be reset. So these are to set the command you use. -S, -T4, -A, -F, -V. So that will fragment. So one packet fragmentation selected on a host other than Linux. This may or may not work. It may or may not work. There's also route, like I said, look at. He knows that this firewall, the attacker knows that this firewall will block the packet. He wants to send to F. So he looks for another route that will evade this firewall and now sends it to F. So source routing, sending packet to the intended destination with a partially or completely specified route without firewall IDS configure routers in order to evade an IDS or firewall. In a source routing, the attacker makes some or all of these decisions on the router. So from the source, you'll be able to do that. Then source port manipulation. Manipulating actual port numbers, common port numbers in order to evade this thing. So for instance, is sending from port 242, but that 242 is blocked on the firewall. So like I said, 80 is usually not blocked. So it's allowed. So it now passes through port 80 and reaches the victim because 242 is blocked. So when a firewall is configured to allow packet from well-known ports like HTTP, DNS, FTP, so MAP uses G or source port option to perform source port manipulation. Manipulating actual port numbers with common port numbers in order to evade an IDS or port number. So G, let's look at it. You can see G, you use G80 and indicate the port number you want to use. Okay, we gotta move fast. So IP address decoy, it refers to generating or manually specifying the IP addresses of decoys in order to evade an IDS or firewall. It appears to the target that the decoys as well as the hosts are scanning the network. This technique makes it difficult for the IDS or firewall to determine which IP address was actually scanning the network and which IP address were decoys. So it adds, so instead of having a particular IP address, one, for instance, my IP, I want to scan now. Instead of having only my IP address doing the work, I can now combine other IP addresses to be doing the same thing. So it will confuse the firewall or the target network as to who is actually carrying out the scan. So it appears that the target are decoys as well as hosts, as the hosts are scanning the network. So it makes it to determine it difficult for the IDS of our to determine which IP address was actually scanning the network and which is decoy. So you can either generate a random number of decoys or you can manually specify the IP addresses of the decoy. So this one is decoy using mmap RND, random random IP addresses. Manuals. The IP address spoofing, you can change your IP address. Let's say this is a real IP address of somebody. So, but the attacker now pretends to be this person and now sends the attack. You understand? To this person, claiming to be this person. So, in such a way, um, the attack goes through. Peradventure, the IP address of the attacker will be blocked, or they may have whitelisted a number of IP addresses that they want to pass through in that place. So MAC address spoofing, you change your MAC address. It involves spoofing a MAC address with the MAC address of a legitimate user on the network. So the same thing also, peradventure other MAC addresses have been blocked out. So only some specific MAC addresses are being allowed. So in such a situation, you can you can spoof it. You can do MAC address spoofing. So so network firewalls filter packet based on source MAC address. So they examine the MAC address in the packet header and determine whether the packets originate from a legitimate source. So firewalls allow traffic from specific sources using MAC filtering rules and restrict packets that do not satisfy the filtering rules. So to avoid these restrictions, attackers use MAC spoofing techniques in which they employ fake MAC addresses and masquerade as legitimate users to scan the host. So they already we have some MAC addresses that are already that are not blocked. So once they discover those MAC addresses that are not blocked, they can pretend to be those MAC addresses so that the packets they are sending can go through. So that's one way to evade IDS and firewall. So creating custom packets by using packet crafting tools. You can create custom packets. Attackers create custom packets using various packet crafting tools like Colorsoft, Packet Builder, NetScan Tools Pro to scan a target beyond a firewall. So to scan the target beyond the firewall, various techniques are used. They create TCP packets to scan the target by bypassing the firewall. They use various packet crafting tools such as Colorsoft, Packet Builder, NetScan Tools Pro to scan the target that is beyond the firewall. Packet crafting tools craft and send packet streams, custom packets using different protocols at different transfer rates. This collapse of packet builder. Then you can randomize host order and send back checksums. They scan the number of hosts in the target network in random order to scan an intended target that is behind a firewall. Sending back checksum. Attackers send packets with bad or bogus TCP UDP checksums to the intended targets to avoid certain firewall rule sets. So they do that. So with this random host order, it allows the scanning to be less noticeable by the target network. So it can be done using mmap randomized hosts. Sending checksum, TCP UDP checksum are used to ensure data integrity. So sending packets with incorrect checksum can help attackers to acquire information from improperly configured system by checking for any response. If there's a response, then it is from the IDS or firewall, which did not verify the obtained checksum. If there's no response or the packets are dropped, then it can infer that the system is configured. This technique instructs EMAP to send packets with invalid TCP, UDP, or SCTP checksums to the target. So that you can use. So, like I said, the Nmap is ubiquitous, very ubiquitous. It has a far reach, wide reach. Then we have these proxy servers that you can use as an intermediary. I talked about them. So the attack will appear to come from them instead of from the attacker. Then you can do proxy chain. You can add different proxy servers, maybe 4, combine them together. So to confuse the intended target on where the attack is coming from. So I have proxy tools, proxy switcher. It allows you to solve the internet anonymously without disclosing your IP address. CyberGhost hides your IP and replaces it to one of your choice. So you can visit proxyswitcher.com for proxy switcher, then cyberghostvpn.com for that other one, the proxy switcher. You can move from one country to there. You can see the screenshot. You can be from Indonesia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, France, and all that. CyberGhost VPN also from different countries. We have tools for mobile phone, shadow socks.org, high performance cross-platform secured socks. Proxy adopts bleeding edge techniques with asynchronous EI/O and event-driven programming. It's available on multiple platforms, including PC, Mac, mobile devices. It's a low resource consumption tool that's suitable for low-end boxes and embedded devices. The anonymizers allows the attacker to remain anonymous. It removes all identity information from the user's computer while the user solves the internet. It makes activity on the internet untraceable. It allows you to also bypass internet censor. So if you have a country where they are censoring, maybe they don't allow you to visit some particular website, like when Nigeria didn't allow people, citizens, to use Twitter for some months, anonymizers will help you. So Unix is a desktop operating system designed for advanced security and privacy. So we have different tools. Unix, Obot proxy app that allows other apps to use internet more securely. Uses Tor to encrypt internet traffic and hides it by bouncing through a series of computers around the world. It's a free software that provides an open network to help defend your system against any form of network surveillance that may compromise personal freedom and privacy, as well as confidential business activities and relationships through a type of state security monitoring known as traffic analysis. Siphon Pro also. You have tools that you can use to bypass any form of censorship on your computer. If you are being censored, maybe you are not allowed to visit some particular website. RCASI, cross-platform, open source, and robust website. Censoring circumvention tool that also maps censorship patterns around the world. Tails, a live operating system that a user can start on any computer from a DVD, USB stick, or SD card. What are the countermeasures as we begin to round off this module against scanning? For port scanning countermeasures, configure your firewall and IDS rules to detect and plug block probes. Then run port scanning tools against hosts on the network to determine whether the firewall properly detects port scanning. So you can run Nmap. Remember, Nmap is originally for administrators. It's not originally for attackers. So Nmap, as an administrator, you can run it to determine if the devices, the hosts on your network, are giving up too much information. Ensure that the mechanisms used for routing and filtering at the routers and firewall cannot be bypassed using source port or source routing methods. They ensure that the router, IDS, and firewall firmware are updated. Make sure that that's across board, across all the modules. One of the kind of countermeasure you continue to see that's constant is the issue of being or updating your software, updating your uh, what's it called, to the latest releases and version. Make sure that they are updated. Firmware, IDs and firewall firmware, they are updated to their latest releases. Make sure they are updated. Latest releases and version. Ensure that they are updated. So use a custom rule set to lock down the network and block unwanted ports. Filter. That's why you see some sites, they places some of the targets that we scanned using Nmap. They filtered some particular ports. They blocked it. So when you see filter, that means it was blocked at the firewall. Use a custom rule set to log down, then filter all ICMP messages, inbound ICMP messages and outbound type 3 and reachable message at the firewall and routers. Perform TCP and UDP scanning along with ICMP probes against your organizational IP address space to check the network configuration and its available ports. Ensure that anti-scanning and anti-spoofing rules are properly configured. Then for banner grabbing, remember banner grabbing is what we talked about being used to get the operating system. It can be active or passive. So for this, I think these ones are passive. File extensions. Remember I said if you have a file, a page that is .asps, you know that you are using Microsoft IIS. So it's better, it's saying here that it's preferable not to use file extensions at all. Don't use file extensions. Hide file extension for web page, then disable or change banner. So if your partner gives you, if that banner, that's if you have error 404 and it's giving so much information, display false banners to mislead or deceive attackers, turn off unnecessary services to limit disclosure of information, use server masking tools to disable or change banner information. For Apache, use a directive httpd.conf file to change the banner information header and set the server as new server name. Then, how do you detect if somebody is trying to spoof IP address? Maybe the person is using another person's IP address. You send a packet to the host of a suspected spoof packet that triggers a reply and compare the time to leave with that of the suspected packet. If the TTL is not the same as the packet being checked, this implies that it's a spoof. So TTL, like I said, time to leave for every packet that is sent. So you can see that this attacker spoofed the IP address of 10.0.0.5 and now send a packet, and the time to leave is 13. But the target now sent a packet to it. But when it replied with time to leave 25, showing that. So when you compare the two, you see that it's different. But however, you should note that normal traffic from one host can contrast time to leave depending on traffic pattern. So if that occurs, it may not necessarily mean that IP spoofing has occurred. Another method is through the IP identification number. Send a probe to the host of suspected spoof traffic that triggers a reply and compare the IP ID with the suspected traffic. If the IP IDs are not close in value to the packet being checked, then the suspected traffic is spoofed. This technique is considered reliable even if the attacker is in the same subnet. So each packet gives an ID. So you can see this IP ID is 2586, and when the target sent to the supposed source of the packet, the IP ID gave is 515. Yes, okay. The IP spoofing countermeasures encrypt all network traffic using cryptographic network protocols such as IPsec, TLS, SSH, and HTTPS. So encrypt all network traffic, let it not be in clear text. Use multiple firewalls to provide multi-layer depth of protection. So you can use multiple firewalls. You can have one at the entrance of a particular segment of the network, another again at the exit. Then do not rely on IP-based authentication. Use a random initial sequence number to prevent IP spoofing attacks based on sequence number spoofing. Ingress filtering. Use routers and firewalls at your network perimeter to filter incoming packets that appear to come from an internal IP address. Like I said, what was it called? Firewalls are for ingress and egress. Ingress is incoming traffic, egress is outgoing. So you can do ingress filtering to filter incoming packets that appear to come from an internal address, and egress filtering to filter all outgoing packets with an invalid local IP address as a source. So scanning detection and prevention tools. This extra up provides complete visibility, real-time detection, and intelligent response to malicious network scans. So if your network is being scanned, this tool will help you to know and to be able to detect it. So we have other tools: Splunk, ScanLog, Vetra Cognito Detect, IBM Security, QRadar, Signet 360. So XR provides complete visibility, real-time detection, and intelligent response to malicious network time. Allows security professionals to automatically discover and identify every device and its vulnerabilities, including unmanaged Internet of Things devices in a network. It allows security professionals to analyze all network interactions in real time, including all cloud transactions and SSL TLS encrypted traffic. Provide complete visibility inside the network parameter. Does this in auto discovery and classification of every device in the network using which security teams can analyze all communication. Okay, so that's all for scanning. Scanning. Okay, so we want to quickly just take a peek at the next module. Of course, we can't finish it. We want to talk about enumeration. Talk about enumeration. So now we talked about information gathering. We talked about information gathering. Then you gather information. After gathering information, you use that information to do your scanning, port scanning, network scanning, or scanning. So, but after scanning, you so what the next thing is you do enumeration. And what is enumeration? It involves an attacker creating active connections with the target system and performing directed queries to gain more information about the target. Uh, Create active connections with the target system and perform directed queries to gain more information about the target. So attackers use the started information to identify points for the system attack and perform password attacks to gain unauthorized access to information system resource. Enumeration techniques are conducted in an intranet environment, so you have to be within the same network for it to be successful. For it to be successful. So it's a process of extracting user names, machine names, network resources, shares, and services from a system or network. In the enumeration phase, an attacker creates active connections with the system and sends directed queries to gain more information about the target. The attacker uses the information collected using enumeration to identify vulnerabilities in the system security, which help them exploit the target system. In turn, enumeration allows the attacker to perform password attacks to gain unauthorized access to information system resource. So they use directed queries to gain more information about the target. It uses information collected to identify vulnerabilities in the system security. So they can use it to exploit the target system. So, and also this enumeration allows them to be able to perform password attacks because during enumeration, the attacker is able to know the different users that are uh, present on a particular network. He knows the different users that have accounts on a network. So with that, once he is able to have the user ID, that will allow him, because if you are to log in into a system, what do you use to log in? You log in with your user ID and your password. So once he gets the user ID, the next thing he will do is to try to either use a brute force, hybrid attack, or dictionary attack in order to be able to um, uh, break into that account. So, what are the types of information that enumeration allows the attacker to collect? So it helps him to collect the following information: network resources. That's the resources that are available on the network. Network shares. What are the things that are being shared across the network? Do you have printers being shared some particular files? The routing tables, audit and service settings, simple network management protocol, and fully qualified domain name. Machine names, names of machines on the network. You know, every machine usually has a name. When you are setting it up, you give it a name. Then users and groups. Very, very important. Users and groups. Excuse me, just give me a minute. Let me take some water to uh, uh, treat my throat. I'll be right back. Just a minute. Okay, um, so during enumeration, attackers may stumble upon a remote inter-process communication share, such as IPC as in Windows, which they can probe further to connect to an administrative share by enforcing admin credentials and obtain complete information about the file system listing that the share represents. So all that we have talked about so far, they are not illegal, but these enumeration activities may be illegal depending on the organization policies and the laws that are in place. So if you are an ethical hacker, you have to get proper authorization before performing enumeration. Well, the different techniques for enumeration: extract usernames using email IDs, extract information using default passwords, brute force Active Directory, extract information using DNS zone transfer, extract user groups from Windows. So look at them one after the other. So extract information, extract username using email IDs. Every email address contains two parts: username and the domain name in the format username and domain name. So extract information. So if you have like Coyote at GIT Solutions .org, of course, you know that Coyote is the user part, the username part. So with that, you can extract the username from that particular email ID. You understand? So extract information using default password. Many online resources provide a list of default passwords assigned by manufacturers to their products. Users often ignore recommendations to change the default usernames and passwords provided by the manufacturer or developer of a product. It uses an attacker's task of enumerating and exploiting the target system. So once you, if they are default password, because I remember I always tell my students this story of what happened sometime many years ago, almost getting to 15 years now. I was living within the UI campus then, and somehow I was able to. Uh, each faculty has an access point. Each faculty has an access point, and I uh, I was able to check, and I discovered the manufacturer of that particular access point. I think it was Link 6, if I can remember very well, or is it D-Link? And I checked for the default passwords. We'll still talk about that default password for those products. And I use the default password to log in into the admin. I was so surprised. So many times when people set up all these devices, they leave the default passwords. They leave the default passwords. So that can be used by attacker to enumerate. Then you can brute force Active Directory. It's susceptible to username enumeration at the time of user supplied input verification. It's a design error in Microsoft Active Directory implementation. If a user enables the logon hours feature, then all attempts at service authentication results in different error messages. Attackers take advantage of this to enumerate valid username. So we'll talk more about that. Let me think all these things will still expatiate. So what are the services and ports that we want to enumerate? Well, like we said, we have TCP and UDP ports. So TCP and UDP manage data communication between terminals in a network. So TCP and UDP are at the level of transport, which is layer 4. Layer 7 is application layer, the OSI model. We have the OSI model. This is something, maybe I will have to send a particular networking resource to the group so that you can read up, because you need to have understanding about this networking excuse me, terminologies, so that it can really help. So on that what's it called? On the OSI model, we have 7 layers, like I said. I think I mentioned it yesterday. Application, presentation, session, transport, network, data link, and physical layer. So um, TCP and the UDP are at the layer 4, which is the transport. So they are used to manage data communications between terminals in a network. So TCP is a connection oriented. I've said that yesterday. I've said it yesterday. So TCP is used for different to support different protocols for different applications. But UDP is used for like these WhatsApp calls we do, voice over internet, audio stream, because they don't need connection. They are not connection oriented or anything. So the services and use TCP UDP ports that can be enumerated include let me go back to the table so that I can just summarize. So like I said, I think we saw it in the previous module. We can have a TCP. It's not all ports that have both TCP ports or UDP ports. Some only have TCP, some only have UDP. So we'll see here. So we have TCP, UDP 53, which is for DNS, domain name system. This domain name system, like I said yesterday, is used for resolving domain names to IP address. Like we said, computers don't communicate using alphabets. They communicate using what's it called? Numbers. So that's why we have to use um, domain name system so that you, as a human being, you imputed domain name. But because they don't communicate using alphabet or letters, they communicate using numbers. It will resolve the domain you entered into IP address. So that's TCP UDP port 53. So then we have Microsoft RPC endpoint mapper, TCP 135. Those are the ports we enumerate. NetBIOS name service 137 UDP, NetBIOS session service SMB 139, 445 SMB over TCP directors, UDP 161, simple network management protocol 161. Lightweight directory access protocol 389 TCP UDP, then network file system 2049, then 25 simple mail transfer protocol, then 162 simple network management protocol, UDP 500 internet key exchange or Kerberos, TCP 22 secure shell. So in this particular port, we have malware such as ADM worm and Monk Trojan. Use port 53 to exploit vulnerabilities within DNS servers, helping intruders launch attack them. Endpoint mapper 135 is used by client system to request a service from a server. So when a client is communicating with a server, that's the work of what's it called? RPC endpoint mapper 135. It enables RPC clients to determine the port number currently assigned to a specific RPC service. There's a flaw in the part of RPC that exchanges messages over TCP/IP. Incorrectly malformed messages causes failure. It affects the RPC endpoint mapper, which listens on TCP/IP port 135. This could allow an attacker to send RPC messages to the RPC endpoint mapper process on a server to launch a denial of service attack. Then we have NetBIOS name service, also known as Windows Internet Name Service. A name resolution service for computers to run in NetBIOS. It name servers maintain a database of NetBIOS names for host and the corresponding IP address the host is using. So it aims to match IP addresses with NetBIOS names and queries. Attackers usually attack the name service first. So it uses 137 as its transport protocol. So we have NetBIOS name service. So every the computers that are under this kind of service, they have their NetBIOS name. So what this NetBIOS name service does is that, DNS is for resolving domain names to IP address, but this one is for resolving NetBIOS names to IP addresses. So 139, perhaps the most well-known Windows port used to transfer files over a network. Systems uses this port for both non-session establishment as well as file and printer sharing. So this is for file and printer sharing. 139, then 445. Windows support files and printer sharing traffic using the SMB protocol directly hosted on TCP. In earlier operating systems, SMB traffic required the NetBIOS over TCP to work on TCP IP transfer. Directly hosted SMP traffic uses port 445 instead of NetBIOS. So 161 for network management to monitor network attack devices such as routers, switches. So simple network management protocol 161. Lightweight directory access protocol for accessing and maintaining distributed directory information services over an IP network. Then network file system used to mount file systems on a remote host over a network. So this is how they share files. So if, for instance, we have in a organization, we have a department, and they want to be able to work on each other's files. You understand? So it doesn't. I don't have to. If, for instance, we have 5 computers, so you don't have to be on one computer in order to work on the file. If he's sharing his files, then you can pick up the file from that shared. It will be a shared folder. You can pick up the file from there and work on it. So you don't have to be on the computer that created or originated that file in the first place. So you can do that. So NFS servers listen to its client system on TCP port 2049. If NFS services are not properly configured, then attackers may exploit the NFS protocol to gain control over a remote system, perform privilege escalation, inject backdoors or malware on a remote host. Then simple mail transfer protocol. TCP/IP mail delivery protocol. It transfers email across the internet and across local network. It runs on connection oriented. So it transfers email both across the internet and across local area network. Then simple network management protocol trap uses TCP port 160 to send notifications such as optional variable bindings and sys uptime from an agent to a manager. Then 500 Internet Security Association and Key Management Protocol. Is a protocol used to set up security association in the IPsec protocol suite. It uses UDP port 500 to establish, negotiate, modify, and delete security association. Secure shell used for managing various network devices. So you use it to connect remotely. So it's telnet. It's port 23, but it's not secure. So we use secure shell instead, 22. And so on and so forth. Okay, telnet and so on and so forth. So let's move to other aspects. So NetBIOS enumeration now. The MBT start utility in Windows displays NetBIOS over TCP IP protocol statistics. NetBIOS name tables for both the local and remote computers and the NetBIOS name cache. So you run the MBT start command, MBT start IP address of the remote machine to obtain the NetBIOS name table of a remote computer. You can also run MBT start command C to obtain the contents of NetBIOS name cache, table of NetBIOS names and their resolved IP address. So first step in enumerating Windows systems to take advantage of the NetBIOS API. You was developed as an API for client software to access local area network resources. Windows uses this for file and printer sharing, like we read earlier, 137. So it's a unique 16 character ASCII string assigned to Windows system to identify network devices over TCP/IP. 15 characters are for the device name, 16 is reserved for the service or record type. So NetBIOS uses 137 ports, 137 UDP name services, port 138 for datagram services and 139 for session services. So attackers usually target NetBIOS service because it's easy to exploit and run on Windows system even when not in use. So they use it to obtain the list of computers that belong to a domain, then the list of shares on the individual hosts in the network, policies and passwords. If an attacker finds a Windows system with port 139 open, can check to see which resources can be accessed or viewed on the remote system. However, to enumerate NetBIOS names, the remote system must have enabled file and printer sharing. So NetBIOS enumeration may allow an attacker to read or write to a remote computer. So if you want to enumerate it, it must have enabled file and printer sharing. So if it doesn't enable it, we can't. That's this kind of enumeration will not work on the target system. So these are the various commands. Follow are examples of MBT start command. MBT start command, MBT start -A can be executed to obtain the NetBIOS name table of a remote computer. So if it has this MBT enabled, then you can use this to get the information. You can also run it on your own system to see if you have any records. So it's a cache. It means maybe there is any record uh, in terms of NetBIOS information that you have accessed previously. So there are tools that can help for a NetBIOS enumeration. NetBIOS enumerator helps to enumerate details such as NetBIOS names, user names, domain names, and MAC addresses for a given range of IP addresses. So Mmap also has an NBT start NSC script that will allow attackers to retrieve targets, NetBIOS names, and MAC addresses. So let's look at this particular to NetBIOS enumerator. So it shows how to use remote network support and deal with some other web protocols such as server message block. All as shown in the screenshot, attackers use it to enumerate details such as NetBIOS names, username, domain name, media access control addresses for given range of IP addresses. Okay, this is the mmap script. Uh, this particular screenshot is what I wanted to see, but it's like it was omitted. So you can also enumerate user accounts. So basically, in an organization where different people are using different, different people are using the computer, of course, they have to have their own accounts so that they can be able to log in into the computer. So enumerate user accounts. Enumerating user accounts using the PS2 suite helps to control and manage remote systems from the command line. So that PS2 suite. PS exec executes processes remotely. PS files shows files opened remotely. PS get SID displays the SID of a computer or user. PS queues processes by name or process ID. PS info lists information about a system. PS list lists detailed information about processes. PS logged on shows who is logged on locally and via resource sharing. PS log list dumps event log records. PS password changes account passwords. PS shutdown shuts down and optionally reboots a computer. So PS exec, PS tools. PS exec is a telnet replacement that can execute processes on other systems, complete with full interactivity for console applications without having to install client software manually. Its most powerful use case is the launch of interactive command prompts on remote systems and remote enabling tools, such as ipconfig that otherwise cannot show information about remote system. The syntax of the PS exec command is as follows. PS computer 2 at file user password service name and so on. Net view allows us to enumerate shared resources. Remember, we said the things we want to enumerate, we want to know about the user and groups. Let me go back to those things we want to enumerate. Okay, network resources. We'll talk about net BIOS enumeration. Now, I want to talk about network shares. Oh, net view utility is used to obtain a list of all the shared resources of a remote host or work group. Net view utility is used to obtain a list of all the shared resources of a remote host. So, what are the things that are sharing? Are they sharing uh, printers? These what are the things they are sharing? So, net view utility helps us to obtain uh, share resources of a remote host or group. So we have net view command, net view computer name or net view domain, then domain name. So this command line utility helps to display a list of computers in a specified work group or shared resources available on a specified computer. It can be used in the following ways. Net view computer name. Computer name is either the IP address is the name of or IP address of a specific computer, the resources of which are to be displayed. The above command displays all the shares on the specified remote computer along with hidden shares. Then the NetView start domain displays all the shares in the domain. The NetView domain name displays all the shares on the specified domain. So this is an example. Remember, um, for you to be successful with enumeration, you have to do it within the network. It has to be an within the intranet, within a particular network. Net view. Then simple network management protocol. Enumeration. This is the process of enumerating user account devices on the target system using simple network management protocol. So simple network management protocol consists of a manager and agents. Agents are embedded on every network devices and the manager is installed on a separate computer. So SNMP holds two passwords to access and configure. We have the read community string. This is public by default. Then read and write. This is private by default. Allows remote editing of configuration. So attackers use the default community string to extract information about a device. So attackers enumerate SNMP to extract information about network resources such as hosts, routers, devices, shares, and network information such as ARP tables, routing tables, and traffic. Remember, simple network management protocol is to manage all the devices that are on the network. So that's the work of simple management protocol. Manages routers, hubs, and switches on an IP network. It runs on Windows and Unix network. We have both agent and manager. Has two strings, read and write. Read community string, then write and write community string. So I'm trying to get I'm trying to, because that net view, I wanted to practicalize it to show us, but I'm using a Mac. So if you are using a Windows, you could try it. Net view. I'm trying to get the command. Apparently, it doesn't work with. It only works with Windows. It only works with Windows. So I will be dropping some resources on the on our what's it called on the group. I'll be dropping networking resources. I'll drop it there for us to be able to read to and further have a deeper knowledge of the things we have been talking about. So, so if you have any questions, you also maybe after going through yesterday and today's teaching, you can also drop it there during the course of the week, and I'll attend to it.